Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing. I'm your host, Loren, and thank you for joining us. We are in the beautiful city of Brussels in Belgium at the Marriott Grand Place. Fascinating place. They're in a construction renovation, I should say, so you'll hear a lot of background music, noise and things behind me, obviously a distracting TV, whatever you would like. But a chance to get to talk to you, and there will be conversations going by, which is kind of the fun part. You hear French, you hear Dutch, you hear Spanish, you hear German. The joy of international travel. And on our most recent podcast, I talked to you a little bit about some of the translation technology I've been using, earbuds that literally hear and translate into English for me, what is being said around me. It's a little bit of a latency, about a half a second, but the ability to at least comprehend the context of the conversation, not always the exact accuracy, but the context of the conversation is always very helpful. So kind of fun ways of being able to travel now with that kind of stuff, which brings me kind of to a little bit of our topic discussion today. Out of my travels here and sharing in various places, of course, we were in the Netherlands. We're going back to the Netherlands in a little bit next week. We passed through France. We're now in Belgium. And the thing that I find remarkable is that there are so many commonalities between the markets, whether it be the US market or European market, in so many asimilar ways, as in the fact that there's a high density of hotels in the immediate area because of the demand market. We're by the beautiful Grand Place in Brussels, which is an amazing central area. Historical and just in so many ways, just absolutely stunningly beautiful. Fell in love with it 25 years when we first saw it, and we've come back several times to see it each time we've been here. And back here again for the very same reason, really. And it's just one of those things that there are so many hotels, there's so many restaurants, there's what we call restaurant rows for us as our way of remembering places. And there's just literally a narrow alley or walkway. And along it are all these little terrazas, these little terraces that you can sit in front of these little restaurants, and they all have little daily special boards. They're all relatively the same price, all relatively the same food. And it brought up to me the idea, because I'm sitting watching them, and they have their representative in the walkway. And that representative tries to entice you as to why their restaurant, compared to every other restaurant that you can see literally in front of you and behind you, is a choice that you should take. And the dialogue's fun. They immediately switched between languages. They were talking to us in English, recognized my wife speaks Dutch, spoken Dutch, translated over to German for a couple that were behind us, in Chinese to a couple that was across. Fascinating. Now, do they speak all those languages? Who knows? Possibly, yes. It is. Brussels is an international city for the EU. And because of that, there is a huge diversity. They're very proud of a third of their population being non-native. And it is a dual language city, Dutch and Flemish, which is fascinating to itself, cultures that it creates. But again, to the topic of today's show, hospitality marketing. I'm sitting in one of the terraces, the terrazas, and looking around and seeing the similarities of all of them. And you look on Google Maps and you see their ratings. And the ratings are very different. There are some that are rated poorly, some that are rated highly, some that have several ratings, others have minimal ratings. And through that, they can be very disparate. Like you can have a five-star review marker for one of the terrazas, but this only has 2 reviews. Meanwhile, you can have one that has 2.5 stars and has 8,000 reviews. And you read the reviews as we do with everything, and there's this mixture of truth and mixture of angst and mixture of competitor and mixture of employee and all this other that goes on to determine reviews. But what else can happen to make them different? So again, I keep alluding to the topic of today, and the topic today is how to stand out when you're one of many. Now, I want to translate this to what I consider to be the brand clients that I have. Airport hotels, transitory between A and C, you're the B. You're one of many nested in the same areas, whether you're a tourist destination like in Orlando, whether you're an airport destination as a hub for an airport transition, whether you're a downtown metro urban, or you're just in the high density area like we're here in Brussels, where there are literally small little pocket hotels all the way around, all independent. All of them have their own unique story, but all the unique stories are homogeneously the same. History, things that happen, same destination. Amenities might make a difference. So my topic of being how to stand out when you're one of many, it's about how to differentiate yourself when you're really sharing the same product offer that your competitor right next door and across the way and next door to them and next door to you on the other side all are doing at the same time. And it's funny that my wife and I were sitting in this place, and the food is really no different than the food next to the bus. Some slight variations to some things, but pretty much you have your mussels, you have your meat, you have your chicken, you have your fish. Mussels are very famous here, by the way. You have your pommes frites, you have your variety of things that are known for being here when you're here. The food isn't the differentiator. It can be. I mean, some places can have exceptional food, and there is certainly a tier above. There's restaurants that are much more have a greater notoriety for their types of qualities of food. These are tourist places. What you read in every review around these little places is that it's a tourist trap, tourist place. It's nothing unique. The food isn't like this. Golly, I traveled all this way to get this dinner. You're there because of what the ambience says. You're there because of its location, the symbolism that's for my wife and I, Renee. It was about reliving when we were first traveling here. We discovered these places. We sat there, and at the time, it was our most affordable way of enjoying a dinner out. It was a daily special. It was appetizers and dinner together for one price. And so we wanted to relive that. Yes, we could go to a much fancier restaurant, but we brought our dog with us, Edison. And for that reason, we didn't want to go inside the places. Restaurants and dogs don't mix on the inside anyway. Here, they're very dog friendly, by the way. I have a whole mess of discussions on pet friendly travel, but we can get back to that another time, another show. So, what can make the difference? Well, I started thinking about this. I told my wife that I equated it very similar to when I used to go with Bonnie Buckheiser and friend Brasso and Jenny Thiessen when we were doing the Rocket program, Revenue Optimization, Convergence Education, and Training. We were at 33 different cities. And I started in my second venture with them. So 32 cities I did this in. Where I challenged the audience, revenue managers, marketers, owners, general managers, what have you, that to bring their worst revenue issue problem and without disclosing confidential or proprietary information, share it. And if I couldn't solve or at least create a path of solution within 10 minutes of being presented the problem, I would dedicate another 3 hours of my time working on a solution. Out of the 32 cities that I did that in, nobody ever knocked me off the hill. And part of it was the dynamics of the audience who helped and participate in creating solutions and answers. Part of it was just creatively thinking about things that may not have been thought of or in ways that had been not conceived. But now with our current ability of the tools that are so different, even just from a year ago, and of course our marketing is different even as from a year ago, even from 6 months ago, as times have changed with COVID, the lockdown, and then the specter of COVID over travel. We're back to more of the challenges that traditional marketing represents, how to stand out against everyone else. And as I'm sitting in this restaurant, and the reason why I thought of that challenge was I was looking around and something challenged me as to how to make this restaurant busier than the restaurants I'm looking around and see. What would I do about that? How would I identify them? The food is not identifiable. I mean, it can be featured, it can be shown. And for those that may or may not be familiar with the similarities of the food down the row, it's a nice thing to know that this food exists at this restaurant. I can feature the history of it. Done, did, and similar to half a dozen, if not a dozen more down the street. What I thought about was the emotional connections, the things that were the intangibles. It wasn't just about the factual details of what my restaurant, of having 100 seats, having a prefix dinner, having unique, non-unique, I should say, but a diversity of Italian and Japanese types of variations of foods to make sure that there was an eclectic, anything's available to if you just want to sit down here. It was about sitting in a cafe in a European city, Brussels in particular, and being there, watching people, watching the things around you, enjoying and soaking up the presence of being there. And that creates content. Now, here's the problem. And my wife was quick to point, it's like, well, how are they going to make all this content you're talking about? If you're talking about enjoying and reliving the experiences of being here, or enjoying for the first time the experiences of being here and so forth, that's a lot of content to put on your website. Because I went to the website and it's generic cookie cut stamp that got sold. Somebody went down that road and sold every one of those little places the same template, put in their pictures, put in their logo, changed a couple of colors, and that website's been the same for however long it's been alive. Did not help them in any capacity. did not have any functions to call to action, didn't have any functions of being able to call for information, didn't have any functions about being able to get them as for maps, didn't have any functions about going over and opening up their menus. And if they did have a menu, which I found went down the way, it was a PDF menu that was horrendous because in your world of travel, your phone is your guide. And now all of a sudden I'm stretching and pinching a PDF menu simply to read it, and no guarantee that that's actually the latest menu. Are those prices accurate? And some of them didn't even have prices on them. Are the items accurate? How long ago was it posted? Then you look at the copyright on the website, and it's from 2 years ago. So the fact that you're going to make a decision to travel from wherever you're staying to this restaurant on the idea that they have a dish that you're interested in or a price that you think is equitable, only to get there and find out that it's not, and to read the reviews and see that there's chaos as to other aspects about it, it doesn't drive them to go there. You're now back to being one of many. So what you need to do is create this content. Now we have these amazing tools, AI in particular. We've gone through the tools in the podcast, the audio podcast. We talk about AI prompts to help create content for a variety of things. But what I'm talking about is to stand out against the fact that you are one of a dozen restaurants, in this case is the example we're using. And so for this reason, it's not that you are different from the others, but you are focusing in on people that are looking for what they're interested in, like a relaxing, convenient place next to the Grand Place, a place that's great next to the Royal Gallery. Literally turn left, you're right by the Royal Gallery. Turn right and go down a block, you're at the Grand Place. Take a left, go 3 blocks and you're at Monaco Beach. These things are helpful because in the context of a travel experience here, it's about the relevancy and the interest of why you're here. Now, those are landmark things that usually drive interest in coming to Brussels. If you're choosing to come to Brussels, whether it be for business and you're looking to expand that business trip to catch the sights, pleasure, or if you're actually making this a destination transient vacation, there are certain things that are the keystone features of this destination. The Grand Place, the Royal Mall, the Palace, and on, plus museums and so forth in the descending scale of importance. Attaching your content of relevancy to those. And you're saying, wait a minute, it's a restaurant. Yes, but it's about the day cycle, what people do during their day. And in that day cycle is somewhere they're getting breakfast if they're not already having it at your hotel. Once they venture out, because they're not here to stay at your hotel, even at a large hotel like the Marriott is here. If I'm here for business, as soon as I'm done with the business, I'm going out in the street and seeing the city. I don't live here. I want to see this city. I want to be able to tell people when I get back the tales of my travels in Brussels. I'm going to go out and see things. I got to go out and see the Grand Place at night or in the daytime. I got to go see the Monaco Beach. I got to see all these other features that are about this city. And the more you can relate to say, great, we're a restaurant that is located well enough to these things that you can just say, now it's time for dinner and I know a place to go. I've looked at them. They've told me about how enjoyable it is, and they sit by and watch people go by, sit outside and enjoy it, or come inside and there's a fireplace or whatever it is. Now you're changing the context of the content of how to stand out. And this is critical, not just in the existential way, but also in the way of defining the content that you are creating in an actionable way. And what I mean by this is that it's not just adding it to your website, but getting it to your Google answers. If you can be the authority website that Google uses to answer the questions, romantic terrace restaurant, Brussels, marketplace, scenic or historical restaurant near the Grand Place. Whatever those unique features are, and you create the content that substantiates the traffic, which creates the validation for Google to say, this is the reference of this site that we're going to answer this question for. What's a great romantic restaurant near Grand Place? You will come up in the answer code. You've jumped ahead of everybody that's trying to pay for the spot, everybody that organically may be placed better than you. And instead, you're now in the answer box that Google has provided, which makes it incredibly powerful. Sorry for the background noise. We have people behind us now. Because of that, you have incredibly powerful content that can be shared for the people that are searching for that type of content. And the critical component of that is making the content via AI. The AI capability, because as my wife kept pointing out while we were in the restaurant, who's going to make this? As well, the guy that's standing out here waiting for the next person to walk down the alley to tell them about how cool the restaurant is, if he took 10% of his time, and the guy inside that's handling the transactions, because they're not the same person. This is the hawker, that's the check person, and the other one's the server, and the other one's the busser. Somewhere in the mix of those, even getting 10% of their time aggregated can help produce that content. And that's a critical component to just finding the space, the wedge. It's not like somebody has to sit down and write sheets and sheets of paper anymore. This is about going to an AI and using the proper prompts, giving it the proper context, and it writing what you need. We know that there's tools that can be done in AI now that can create unique videos. These videos can be concise to the content that you've developed before, so you can substantiate the visual interaction that people have about what you're trying to portray, about the uniqueness of the emotional connection to your restaurant, let's say. And this is from the example I'm giving. So let's translate this to a hotel, airport hotel. You're one of 4 flavors of your same brand near the airport. And you are one of 10 hotels between all the multi-brands and the flavors of their brands fighting for the same market. In an example going back quite a few years, but still functionally viable, if not more viable now, is the ability of, we had this new airport hotel open in Banff in Canada. And it was one of what would be now 5 airport hotels for Banff. There was 4 well-established, persistent people that traveled through Banff knew about these 4. This was a brand new one. So we knew it was going to be hard to get in front of people that were not familiar with our even existence, because we're a brand new hotel. So from a marketing perspective, the positive is we're the shiny new toy. We just have to make sure people know there's a shiny new toy. Well, you obviously have typical targeting campaigns of people traveling or looking for travel to Banff, traveling through Banff, search for Banff, look for places in Banff, accommodation Banff, typical ad sets that you would do for targeting people coming to the airport. But what we also added to that was a geofence. And then we used a platform that has since then been adapted, but still there's platforms that do this, that you can create triggers. If a keyword was used in Twitter, back when Twitter was actually more valuable than it is now, on Facebook, on search queries, if they used a trigger in social platforms where it's like delayed, snowed in, stuck, because Banff had a huge cancellation time for their airport when it came to wintertime. They had lots of times where they were just canceled or delayed. But whenever those keywords were put in a social platform within that geofence, triggered our ad. Now, Facebook, you can do it. You can put a pin on a map and say, within a radius or excluding this radius, I want this to happen. Still easy to do, still functionally able to be done in Meta. Now, Facebook Meta. Still not used to that. The idea is, what we did was, as soon as that triggered happened with the keywords that were being used, okay, in that geofence, we triggered an ad that would show up saying, stuck at the airport in Banff, no worries, 10% off our best available rate, and we are at gate 5. And so all of a sudden, there's a line waiting for our shuttle to go to our airport, and the other shuttles, which are also at gate 5, by the way, but they're there and there's no line for them. They didn't have it. They just basically were waiting for people to go, oh, I'm stuck. Okay, I got to find a hotel. Oh, yeah, they have an airport shuttle. Great. Where is it? Gate 5. They had to go through all this menu process. The hotels didn't step in to go over and highlight the fact that they were offering some value proposition for the wayward traveler that got stuck. We did. And so we instantly got the occupancy we were looking for, the rates we were looking for, and the immediate awareness to the people that were regulars going through the Banff airport that this was a cool hotel, because we actually made sure we communicated with you, which is a perception from people's perspective of whether the hotel is really caring about you or whether they're just going through the motions of what they say they do. That was a little bit of a blending towards our last show, where we talked about the truth and accuracy of content and its usability versus its factualness. We're kind of on the same vein with this, where in this ability of sharing content, sometimes it's emotional content related to the value proposition of what the hotel or the restaurant or your facility is offering. And expanding on the idea that it's just not, you can't compete with the same everything else of same food or same hotel, same injections. We're talking about the airport hotels now. You're featuring to the same airport, You're featuring relatively the same rate. It's all pretty much in the same range as everything, unless there's a tier difference of quality of amenities you're offering. A full flag Marriott obviously is going to be a different price than a limited service Marriott. Full flag Holiday Inn or Crown Plaza is going to be different than Holiday Inn Express and so forth and so on, although there's some versions to that. Hilton, you get the idea. So you're competing with your comp set, your Fairfield's competing with your Hilton Gardens, your Home2s, your Holiday Inn Expresses. They're all in that field of play, okay? Kind of the same. So to stand out from it, offer content that is usable at a convenient way of doing it to your users at the time that they need it most. In the airport, you got luggage, you got a phone, you're looking for and or trying to find, you may have been stuck, delayed, what have you. It's as simple as looking for places to eat, as simple as looking for places to stay. We already know that people are already brand agnostic and that they don't tend to be worried about whether or not, I must stay at a Holiday Inn above all else is because I need more points. Of course, they're going to try to go for the places they have the most points, but at the end of it, they're looking for rate and availability at the time that they need it most. If you're offering content that is helpful to them, like, okay, you're at the airport, you need to get to the shuttles for the hotels, not a problem. Now, if anybody's worked with Google Maps, there's incredible successes with it, and there's not so good stuff. It's hard sometimes, the accuracy of where your pin's at, and you're trying to walk, and it shows you one, terminal over, and obviously the directions aren't tailored to you. You're one terminal over, but because of the proximity, it hasn't finalized your exact location. Other software apps can help with that. Sometimes just offering, and it sounds really sad and old to say this, an old paper map in the sense that it's a map that you can see, that you can look at and say, I'm in Terminal B. There it is on the map. Okay, outside of Terminal B to the right-hand side is the escalators down to the shuttle buses. Almost in ways easier than waiting for your Google map to figure out that you are in Terminal B and not Terminal A, and that its fastest route is for you to walk outside, go to the parking lot, and walk downstairs when you have suitcases. It doesn't know that stuff. You're knowing what you need, the escalator, elevator, so forth and so on. You need that detail of things. And why not provide that? Why not share that type of content that says, if you're arriving by these airlines, you're most likely going to be arriving in Terminal B. Terminal B, when you exit it through security, you are going to take a right in the main terminal. You'll see escalators at your 1 o'clock. They will bring you to the lower floor, which most of your luggage pickup, if you need to pick it there, is not. If not, while you're down there, you're going to take a hard left, either inside or outside, and walk to the end in front of gate 5. And that's where our shuttle bus will be at the 4:45 of the hour. It can be that helpful. Sometimes just people's awareness, because now that's going to be in their head. They know that when they get out of the plane, boom, I take a right. I'm going to head towards the terminal. Good to know. I'm going to go over and go outside the security, go over to the escalators, go down to the baggage claim. Don't need to pick up my bag, so I'm just going to take a hard left, continue down the end to gate 5, and there's the hotel shuttle buses. And if I can get there by the 15, I catch that bus. If not, I have to wait until the 45, and if it's cold outside, I don't have to stand there. It sounds simple, but it makes the difference. Because if you go to any of these vanilla, generic brand websites, pick any one of them. They're generic. They're modules that are standardized because the brands have to move the mountain for everybody. And so for that reason, they can only offer the same thing to everyone. So everybody has the same thing. You have a unique capability of offering content separately from them. If you've been listening to our live shows and you've been listening to our podcast, you know that there's interstitial pages now that you can create for your information, for your ads first, but then your information second. You can expand in your Google My Business, a lot more helpful information from that. You can use social as your conduit of content. You can post things on social that help the relevancy of providing information. Hey guys, if you're arriving in for the XYZ festival, coming into the airport, here's what you can do. If you're flying News Airlines, this is the terminal you're most likely to come into. When you get out, you're going to head towards the B's, which are to the left with the descending numbers. That will get you out the door. Okay? And you can put in your social pages, then use those deep links in social in your ads. Hey guys, need the information about when you land to make it to our airport, or just simply to get out of the airport. Here it is. And then when you have that, and you can put that in ads too that go in interstitial pages for content. You can say, hey, for those booking, you can send an interstitial page to people that ask for the information. You can give them a QR code that they can get in your ads, in your video ads, that says, here, load this down. This is your guide to landing at our airport and getting to our hotel. And literally can be. Now, if you want to expand that and you're more of a tourist destination, you can go over and say, we have fascinating information to share around you. I have, on purpose, tried to use 6 different tour help guides here in Brussels. One, it's a city I am quasi-familiar with, so I understand the certain highlights and relative relationship of where the locations are for the main touristy features, Grand Place and the gallery, the Royal Gallery, and the palace and so forth. But the idea of all the other stuff I'd like to know about, I've tried 6 different platforms, and all of them have something valuable and in ways different from each other. But at the end of it, it's still challenging when you're with your backpack of the day, usually water, snacks, whatever, or just whatever you're bringing, whether you don't even have a backpack, you're carrying something, pouch for money or whatever. Standing in the sun or standing in the shade while people are walking around you, looking at your phone, worried about somebody grabbing somebody in your pocket maybe, looking at your phone, trying to determine which alley and angle and which way you're supposed to go, and your Google map is 1 block off either way. It doesn't quite land on the right spot from the names that you're seeing. It's not quite the right spot, and you're sorting all that out. Or is it clear and concise by content you can share? Not just prior to someone's arrival, but also while they're with you at the hotel, providing services of information. QR codes are an amazing tool that a friend of mine, Mike Wiley, used to say that they were going to be dead a long time ago. And I agree, so, they're dead man walking, but they're still functional tooling. That was 20 years ago that we had that back and forth conversation. And it was nice of him, 2 years ago, to go and say, you're right, QR codes lived. QR codes are very helpful because it gives you an immediate resource. People go, bing, okay, now I have what you want me to have. On these interstitial pages, you can put all this really cool content. You're not trying to guide somebody's trip. You should ride the coattails of the services that are in your market, the CVBs, the TDCs, the chambers that are doing all this. Derive a relationship, pull their content into you. Don't send them to the content, bring the content, share it that it's there, highlight it, so forth. They want to follow that string, that link out, they can, yes, but you want to keep them on your page. Don't take the mother page over with it. For those that do these website builds, don't let them hijack from where they are. Add another tab, let them see it. If they don't find what they want, at least they haven't lost your page and they can continue on with your stuff. Give helpful information. Solicit your guests to share, not just that they liked your hotel. I mean, first off, so few people do that anyway. But actually go over and solicit with them. What were the things that they found the most fascinating that they didn't know about? What did they discover that they didn't know about before they got here? What is the thing that was incredibly satisfying for the trip here? Things like that. And let them tell their own stories. Those testimonials aren't really testimonials saying, I love the hotel, a great place to stay, and so forth. Those are testimonials of their enjoyment of having stayed with you without referring to the fact, oh yeah, the Marriott, Brussels, great hotel, such and such. No, I love the fact that as soon as I walked out of my hotel, the Grand Place was literally a block and a half away. I could go out there anytime I wanted to go see it, a day or night. It wasn't a big thing to get there. Didn't have to take an Uber, didn't have to take a train, didn't have to take a tram, nothing. Just walk right over, come back over. There's a feature house. There's hundreds of them that I really fell in love with over here. So forth and so on. There's a great waffle place. Those sharings of things is what other people go and say, what was the name of that again? Because you can put the links in there saying, well, this is the feature house they were talking about. Here it is on the map. Here's the little Belgian Waffle House. Here it is on the map. And when you share that dialogue of travel insights, okay, that people can collaborate on, say, when I was there, I really fell in love with this place versus this. You're not asking them to join it as a review, like, did you agree with this person? Didn't agree with this? No. Let me go look and see if, okay, let me go try that. And if you didn't like it, okay, you didn't like it. If you did like it, you might actually say, yep, Loren suggested that place, and dang, if it wasn't good, I recommend it too. And that's what builds up that organic value of content. And that's what makes Google point you out. Same thing with airport hotels. If you go and say, here's helpful stuff, share with us what you found to be helpful, what you would think we should improve upon, and then take that and add that to what you're doing. And that goes in. It's like, okay, Loren had this little quick video about We told him what to do when he came into Terminal B. Here's his video saying what he also learned about it, saying, oh yeah, well, when I traveled on these days, those restaurants close at 7 p.m. It says 9, but they've been closing at 7, and I was there for a whole week back and forth, and they weren't there. That kind of stuff is gold, because it makes people like, okay, well, I wasn't there for those dates, but now I know maybe I can't count on them to be there until 9 p.m. Maybe it's only 7. And that goes for helpful hints when traveling abroad or places you've never been, to find out that most restaurants close at 6 or 5:30 or 5, when you're thinking I'll grab a bite at 7, only to find out your options are gone. That kind of sharing content, that ability to stand out from others, is really the key variance. Not just the authoritative details like we have this many rooms and this much banquet space and this restaurant and this is our restaurant hours and this is our menu. Those are factual things. It's the emotional, creative content that you can share beyond that that makes a difference. I think I've covered it the way I would like to anyway. There's always more to it. If you have more questions, obviously you can reach out to me and contact me both via email at loren@hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. Any feedback or suggestions, both for topics and feedback on the shows. The second of it is, if you'd like to go over and give an audio response and either give me permission to share it on the show or not, you can go to htm.news/talkback. And there you can literally audio answer my questions that I have there, or add your own content on the tell me what's on your mind question as well. For everyone that's watching us on our TV channel, the Hospitality channel on your Roku, Google TV, Amazon TV, or Apple TV, thank you for doing so. For those watching us simulcasted on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube, or Twitch, thank you so much for that. We broadcast via TV into 209 countries. We are currently in 39 countries with simulcasting on the social platforms. So of all of you that watch the show on a regular weekly basis, thank you for doing so. Hopefully these open dialogues of my travel experiences over these past few weeks and the next few weeks ahead have been helpful in this interpretation of your marketing strategy changes. Until next week, show number 405, which should be back in the Netherlands. My name is Loren Gray. Thank you for the privilege of your time, and I look forward to talking to you all next week.